Welcome to Chat Like a Native. Our deep dive today, well, it's all about helping you sound more like a native English speaker.
Exactly.
And we're kind of focusing on those of you who are at that, intermediate level where you're, feeling pretty good about your English, but still, dreaming of sounding really, really fluent, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of explore a bit of a secret weapon here that can really fast track that progress.
Yes.
And guess what? It's not grammar.
You got it. It's all about vocabulary.
The building blocks of any language, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I was diving into this fascinating article about why vocabulary actually trumps grammar when it comes to achieving that real fluency.
Interesting.
And it was really surprising actually how much emphasis this article put on words over rules,
Well, it makes sense, though, when you think about it. I mean, if you were, let's say, lost in a foreign country, knowing even a few basic words like help or food would get you a lot further than,
Yes.
perfect grammar.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
The article actually uses a similar analogy.
Yeah, neat.
It says that grammar it's like the polish on a car.
Oh, okay.
It makes it, look all nice and shiny.
Right.
But the engine, the thing that actually makes it go, is the vocabulary.
Right.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
Grammar helps you refine your communication, but you need those words to actually communicate with in the first place.
Right.
Okay, so we're all convinced vocabulary is key.
Right.
But how do we actually go about expanding our vocabulary in a way that really works? I mean, we've all seen those long, intimidating vocabulary lists, right?
Yeah, you're right. Those can be a bit daunting. The article actually suggests starting with those lists,
Okay.
but with a bit of a twist.
Right.
Instead of just memorizing random words from a dictionary or something, it recommends focusing on thematic lists.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So let's say you're interested in, I don't know, travel, for example. You might focus on words related to transportation, accommodation, sightseeing, that kind of thing.
That's a much more practical approach, I think.
Yeah.
It seems like there are actually a ton of resources out there that already do that, right?
There are, yeah.
The article mentions websites like English Club,
Right.
which have, pre-made lists already for different levels and themes.
They're great resources for that.
But let's be honest, just having a list isn't really enough, is it?
No, it's not.
We need to make those words stick. And that's where the concept of learning in context comes into play.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you brought that up because the article really emphasizes this as well.
Yeah.
It says that instead of memorizing these isolated words, we should learn them within sentences, right, or phrases. It even gives this great example.
Oh, cool.
Learning the word reluctant
Okay.
through the phrase, she was reluctant to share her opinion.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You instantly get this picture in your mind, and it helps you understand not just the meaning of the word,
Yeah.
but also how it's actually used
Yeah, absolutely.
in a real sentence.
Right, yeah. Learning in context
Yeah.
not only makes those words more memorable, but it also helps you understand the nuances of them, right?
Right.
and how they're used in different situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of making things stick, the article also talks about something called spaced repetition.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of those apps, like Anki and Quizlet, but I don't really know how they work.
So they're based on the idea that, well, we forget things over time, right? But if we review that information just before we're about to forget it, we kind of reinforce the memory.
Okay.
And these apps use algorithms to kind of schedule those review sessions for you.
Okay.
So you're constantly being challenged to remember those words just as they're kind of slipping away.
Oh, that sounds really clever.
Yeah.
I love that you can actually customize those flashcards,
Yeah.
with definitions and example sentences, even pictures.
Yeah.
It's all about making it more engaging.
Exactly. The more senses you engage, the better you'll remember, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got thematic lists,
Mhm.
we've got learning in context, we've got the spaced repetition thing.
Yeah.
Are there any other strategies that we can use to really kind of supercharge our vocabulary?
Absolutely. This is where things get really exciting. Welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive into vocabulary for Chat Like a Native.
I feel like we were just getting to the good stuff.
I know, right?
All that stuff about supercharging our vocabulary.
Exactly.
We left off talking about about how getting lost in a good story, like a really good story,
Yeah.
can actually be a really powerful way to expand your vocabulary, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny because it doesn't even feel like learning, right?
No. Oh,
You're just enjoying a story, and then these new words kind of seep into your brain,
Yeah.
almost without even trying.
It's true.
It's like it's like passive learning, but like on steroids. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
You're exposed to all these new words
Yeah.
in this really natural context.
Yeah.
So you pick up not just the meaning of the words, but also how they're used in different situations.
Yeah.
Like all those subtle connotations.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is.
So obviously audiobooks and podcasts seem like really great choices for this, right?
Yeah.
But are there any other types of stories that we can use?
Well, think about the types of stories you enjoy in your native language.
Okay.
Do you like novels,
Mm-hmm.
biographies, maybe even graphic novels or comics?
Okay.
All of these can be fantastic resources for language learning too.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think especially for visual learners, those graphic novels and comics can be particularly helpful.
Yeah.
Because they give you those visual cues.
Right.
Along with the language, it's almost like
Yeah.
watching a movie in your head.
Yeah, it's that visual element.
Right. And then of course we've got movies and TV shows
Yeah.
with English subtitles.
Right.
That's another really good one.
That can be really helpful.
Yeah, because you're hearing the language.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it written at the same time.
Yeah, that reinforces.
Which really helps. But what about taking a more active approach to learning vocabulary through stories?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
simply listening or reading a story
Yeah.
doesn't really guarantee that you'll remember all those new words, right?
That's true, and that's where the idea of keeping a vocabulary journal comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of vocabulary journals,
Okay.
but I'm not really sure how to use one effectively.
Okay.
Is it just about jotting down new words and their definitions?
It can be as simple as that, but you can also make it more interactive, and personalized.
Oh.
So, for example, write down not just the definition, but maybe an example sentence that really resonates with you, or maybe even like a little drawing or symbol that helps you remember the word.
Okay, that makes sense.
And even note like where you encountered the word.
Okay.
Was it in a podcast, novel,
Yeah,
a conversation, that kind of thing?
I love that. It's like creating your own personalized dictionary of words that really have meaning and relevance to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the act of writing things down can really help solidify that learning. It forces you to really engage with that word on a deeper level.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But what happens after we've like diligently filled our vocabulary journal with all these amazing new words? I mean, the real goal is to be able to use those words in our own conversations, right?
Absolutely. That's the ultimate test of whether we've really integrated those words into our vocabulary, and this is where active recall comes in.
Okay. So active recall basically means actively trying to retrieve those words from our memory.
Exactly.
Oh.
And the best way to do that is through speaking and writing. So, don't be afraid to use those new words in your conversations, even if it feels a little awkward at first.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of language learners, myself included, we get hesitant to do that.
I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're so worried about making mistakes or sounding unnatural.
Totally.
But you're right. I mean, making mistakes
it's crucial.
It's a crucial part of the learning process.
Absolutely.
Because when you make a mistake, you become more aware of the correct usage.
Right.
And you're less likely to make that same mistake again.
Exactly.
That's a really good point. So embrace those mistakes, folks.
Yes.
They're actually like little stepping stones.
We are.
On your path to fluency.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
Try writing short stories or dialogues using those new words that you've learned.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You can even record yourself speaking and then listen back to identify areas for improvement.
Exactly.
Speaking of improvement, I think a lot of learners,
I mean,
myself included,
yeah,
we we struggle with staying consistent.
Yeah, that's a common one.
Right.
It's hard.
When it comes to vocabulary learning, it's so easy to get, caught up in the busyness of life.
Yeah.
And just let those good intentions fall by the wayside.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we combat that?
Well, one of the best ways is to set realistic goals.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't try to learn, 50 new words a day or something crazy like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Start small, maybe 5 or 10 words.
Yeah, exactly.
And focus on really understanding and using those words.
Yeah.
Consistency is key.
Absolutely. It's all about quality over quantity.
When it comes to vocabulary.
Love that.
Yeah.
But how do we keep ourselves motivated?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to get, discouraged when you're thinking about, how much you still have to learn.
It's true, but that's why it's so important to celebrate those milestones.
Okay.
Even the small ones.
Right.
Did you master those 10 words this week?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you successfully use a new word in a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Right.
You have to acknowledge and appreciate your progress.
I think that's a really good point. And don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Everyone learns at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And what matters most is your own progress.
Right.
And your own commitment to the journey.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive.
We have.
Right.
Yeah.
From thematic vocabulary lists and learning in context to spaced repetition.
Right.
And the magic of word roots, right?
Absolutely.
There's a whole toolkit of techniques out there just waiting to be explored.
Waiting to be explored.
We've also talked about the importance of finding that balance between passive and active learning.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Setting realistic goals and celebrating those milestones to stay motivated, right?
Yeah, to keep that momentum going
on your language learning adventure.
Exactly.
But there's one key point that I think we need to emphasize before we wrap things up.
I agree.
What is it?
Well, remember that the journey of learning vocabulary, it never really ends. Even native speakers are constantly encountering new words,
right,
and expanding their understanding of the language.
That's both daunting and exciting.
It is, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, it means there's always something new to discover, new ways to express yourself, and new levels of fluency to achieve.
It's a continuous journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a final thought for you to ponder as you continue your language learning journey.
Yeah.
What are some unconventional ways that you can expose yourself to new vocabulary?
Interesting.
Right. Think beyond textbooks and apps, right?
Yeah.
Where else can you find words just kind of hiding in plain sight?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
It could be anything from, eavesdropping on conversations in a non-creepy way, of course.
Yeah, of course.
To exploring, the lyrics of your favorite songs, or even diving into the world of poetry.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
The English language is this vast
and
vibrant landscape.
Yeah.
Just waiting to be explored.
Yeah, you're right.
So get out there, embrace the adventure.
Yeah.
And never stop.
Yeah.
Expanding your word horizons.
Your word horizons. I love that.
That brings us to the end of part 2.
Okay.
Of our deep dive into vocabulary acquisition for Chat Like a Native. But don't worry, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
We still have one more part to go.
Yes.
Where we'll delve into the importance of nuance in vocabulary.
Right.
Yeah. How to make those emotional connections with words that really make them stick.
Right.
And how expanding your vocabulary can ultimately open up new worlds to you.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned for part 3.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our final part for this deep dive into vocabulary and how to chat like a native.
we've talked about so many great strategies in the previous parts, but it just hit me, like, as I was kind of thinking about everything we discussed. Learning vocabulary, it's not just about the quantity of words we know, right? It's also about the quality of our learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not enough to simply memorize definitions.
Right, yeah.
We need to really understand those nuances of words, right? Those subtle shades of meaning, and how they're used in different contexts, right?
You know, it's like the difference between, you know, knowing the word happy and understanding those subtle distinctions between joyful, content, delighted, or even like ecstatic, right? I mean, each word paints a slightly different picture, evokes a different feeling. Exactly. And as we become more attuned to those nuances, our communication becomes more precise, more expressive, and ultimately more native-like.
I love that. I love that idea that by mastering these subtle distinctions, we're essentially learning to paint with words.
Yes.
We can create these more vivid images, evoke specific emotions, tailor our language to fit the situation perfectly.
And, you know, that brings up the importance of making those emotional connections with words as well. You know, think about it. When we encounter a word that really resonates with us personally, that sparks a memory or a feeling, it's so much more likely to stick in our minds.
It's like that word becomes embedded in our experience rather than just floating around in our vocabulary bank.
It becomes part of you.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, learning vocabulary through storytelling can be so powerful, because those new words are woven into the fabric of that story, right? They're carrying emotional weight, they have meaning, they become part of a larger narrative, which makes them more memorable, more impactful.
And I imagine it can also make the learning process so much more enjoyable, right?
Absolutely.
If we're feeling engaged and emotionally connected to the material, we're more likely to stay motivated and keep learning.
When we're excited about the words we're learning, when we see how they can help us express ourselves more fully, connect with others on a deeper level, the whole journey becomes so much more rewarding.
And that actually brings me to another really exciting aspect of expanding our vocabulary.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it opens up new worlds to us.
It does. Right. Yeah.
The more words we have at our disposal, the more we can understand, appreciate, and engage with different, you know, cultures, perspectives, ideas, all that.
It's like we're unlocking a whole new dimension of understanding, expanding our horizons, becoming citizens of a larger world.
I love that. Yeah. So to all of our listeners out there who are on their English language learning journeys, just remember this: the path to fluency. It's paved with words.
It is.
Embrace the power of vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Explore those nuances. Make those emotional connections, and let it guide you to a world of greater understanding, connection, and expression.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And never lose that sense of curiosity, right?
Right.
I mean, the English language is constantly evolving.
It is.
So there's always something new to learn, something new to discover.
Always.
Happy word hunting.
Happy word hunting, everyone.